immunogenetics is basically the study of the genetic basis of the immune responses. So it includes the study of normal immunological pathways as well as the identification of genetic variations that result in immune defects, which may result in the identification of new therapeutic targets for immune diseases. This is basically the immunogenetics normally tells us. So now when we talked about those MHC molecules, I have mentioned, or during that HLA mismatch portion, I have told you that these MHC molecules or these HLA molecules, they are highly polymorphic in nature, right? These MHC molecules, there are in case of MHC1, there are HLA-A, HLA-B, HLA-C, and there are second class of HLA where we get HLA-DP, DQ, DR. So do you remember what is this A, B, C or DP, DQ, DR represent? Well, they basically represent different loci, okay, and during different permutation combination, or you can say during the recombination process, they form different combinations with each other, forming or giving us the variety of these molecules. And this is the reason I have told you that this, due to this highly polymorphic as well as polygenic nature of this MHC molecule, this is very hard to get 100% HLA match, where we get 100%, 0% mismatch between this HLA ABC or HLA DP, DQ, DR. This is just next to impossible due to the high polymorphic and polygenic nature of these molecules. So there is the lies, actually here lies the key concept, the genetic recombination process that is occurring. So today we will talk about this recombination process. Before starting to this recombination process, just we will talk a little bit of the terms that we use in case of genetics. We will learn about that, and then we will shift towards this our discussion, how this actually affects the immunological molecules. Okay, so slide is visible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So anyone can say about this slide, what is the picture depicts here?
Biological tree.
Exactly. So what it tells us?
It tells us about the various types of microorganism classification. Bacteria, archaea,
Eukarya, not microorganism, the classification of the animals. Okay, so why I have shown this figure? Because we all know about evolution, right? Because I have written the title as the relation between evolution and genetics, because though you are basically want to know the subject on this immunoinformatics, immunogenetics portion, you need to know the basic terms, basic methods or basic idea about the genetics. And in order to study genetics, you have to know evolution. Evolution is the process basically by which populations of organisms change over generations. Every population, every organism changes, and how the changes, because a particular protein, particular gene that actually changes, and genetic variation underlie these changes. Now genetic variations can arise, say, from gene mutation or from genetic recombination, which is a very normal process in which genetic material is rearranged in a cell is getting ready when it is getting ready to divide, when the cell is getting ready to divide, generally during this meiosis. So basically the variations occurs during this normal cell division process or by some genetic mutations. Now these variations often alter gene activity or the protein function, which can introduce different traits in an organism, which is basically manifested in case of MHC molecules also. So if a trait is advantageous and help the individual to survive and say reproduce, the genetic variation is more likely to be passed to the next generation, which is known as a process of natural selection, right? Now over time, as generations of individuals with the trait continue to reproduce, the advantageous trait becomes increasingly common in a population, making the population different than an ancestral one. Sometimes the population becomes so different that it is considered as a new species. So this is how it occurs. Now what happens during this evolution process or during this selection process? The question comes that what are those mutations which will be in the genome or which will sustain? So if you see, there are hereditary mutations, that is that occur in egg or sperm cells, that can be passed to future generation and potentially contribute to the evolution. Now the question comes, what is heredity and what is inheritance? So if you see, the heredity is the transmission of genetic characteristics from parents to their offspring and is often referred to as genetics, that is heredity, whereas the inheritance depicts the pathway of the genetic traits and its expression from one to another organism. Okay, so when we were talking about evolution is the change in the inherited traits of a population of organism through successive generations. When living organisms reproduce, they pass on their progeny a collection of traits. These traits may be tangible and obvious, such as the patterns in a butterfly's wings or the number of scales on a crocodile, but they also include characteristics as relatively anonymous as the sequences of nucleotide bases that make up an organism's DNA. So in fact, we can say when we talk about this inheritance, this is what we are actually referring to, the transfer of genetic sequences from one generation to other. And when particular genetic sequence change in a population, that is via mutation, these changes are inherited across successive generations, and this is the stuff of evolution. So the basic laws of inheritance is very, very important in understanding the pattern of disease transmission, because when we are talking about these immunological patterns, the immunogenetics, when we talk about this immunogenetics portion, automatically a term comes into our mind which is known as the autoimmune disease. So anyone have any idea what is autoimmune disease? At least a gross idea?
Ma'am, autoimmune disease are disease that that when a person have an autoimmune disease, so their B cell and T cell destroy cell. So there is
Okay,
ma'am,
fine.
I
Yes,
cannot
yes.
recognize.
Okay, fine. But whatever you have answered me, that is correct. So basically the main function of immunology, the main feature of this immunological molecule is that we read that they can differentiate between self and non-self, right? They can mark the non-self molecules as the pathogen, and we can say them as antigen. A particular portion of that pathogen is known as the antigen, which is recognized by the warriors of our immunological system. So the main feature of this immunological system is they can differentiate, they can distinguish between our self and non-self molecule. Obviously they won't make the immunity, they won't activate the different immunological molecules against self proteins, right? But when the question comes that there is some problem in the distinguishing these molecules, they cannot differentiate between the self and non-self, and they think the self proteins, body's own molecules, to be an invading one, to be a foreign one. So the problem starts from here. What happens? They actually think about these own molecules as the foreign one, and they activate B cells and T cells to activate the immune system against these self molecules. As a result, it becomes very much pathetic that the body's own system is working against the body. So this cause the autoimmune.
Ma'am, own immune cell, that is own immune cells.
Yes. So all the immune cells actually start to work against your own cells only, right? So they are not actually protecting you from the foreign one. They are recognizing your cell as the foreign and boosting the immunity against your own cell. So this is resulting this autoimmune disease, right? So if you want to study these particular autoimmune diseases, how these occur, and also the disease transmission, how these diseases are transmitted, so you need to know the basic laws of inheritance also. The basic inheritance pattern of single gene disease are often referred to as Mendelian, because he actually this genetical portion is he actually first observed the different patterns of gene segregation for the selected traits, right? So say if a family is affected by a particular disease, an accurate family history will be important to establish a pattern of the transmission. Now in addition, a family history can even help to exclude genetic diseases, particularly for common diseases where behavior and environment play a very strong role. So if you can see, most genes have one or more versions due to mutations or polymorphisms referred to as alleles. Now individuals may carry a normal allele and a diseased allele, or say a rare allele, depending on the impact of the mutation or polymorphism. Okay, and the population frequency of the particular allele. Now single gene disease are usually inherited if you study the hardcore genetics portion. So there are 5 different patterns of inheritance in case of single gene disease, that is usually inherited in one of several patterns depending on the location of the particular gene and whether 1 or 2 normal copies of the gene are needed for the disease phenotype to manifest. Now the expression of the mutated allele with respect to the normal allele can be characterized as, if you can see, one is the autosomal dominant, where each affected person has affected parent, and this is the genetics portion that occurs in every generation. Next one is the autosomal recessive. There are some patterns here. Next is the X-linked dominant, X-linked recessive, and there are mitochondrial patterns of inheritance. So what happens in case of this genetic heterogeneity, this comes with both the single gene diseases and complexed with multifactorial diseases in case of these patterns. So this is the basic of the pattern of inheritance that we generally know. Now what happens in case of homologous chromosomes? I guess you know about homologous chromosomes. So homologous chromosomes possess the same gene in the same order through the specific, though the specific allele of the gene can be different on each of the two chromosomes. Now if you can recall that during the interphase and prophase 1 of meiosis, homologous chromosomes first replicate and then they synapse with like genes on the homologs aligning with each other, and at this stage segments of homologous chromosome exchange linear segments of genetic materials, right? So I guess you know the particular process which is known as recombination or crossing over, and this is the common genetic process. Because these genes are aligned during this recombination, the gene order is not altered. Instead, the result of recombination is that the maternal and the paternal alleles are combined onto the same chromosome. Across a given chromosome, several recombination events may occur, causing extensive shuffling of alleles. When two genes are located on the same chromosomes, they are considered linked genes and their alleles tend to be transmitted through meiosis together. So I have told you this is a normal pedigree. I guess you know that this pedigree actually tells us about the genetic disorder. You can check the family history and go for it. Okay, so this is, I think you know, the Mendel's laws of segregation and laws of independent assortment, and from here we get the idea about the linked genes and unlinked genes and the linked genes. So what we were talking about, that I have told that in a given chromosome, when there are several recombination process events, they can take place, causing extensive shuffling of the alleles. Now when two genes are located on the same chromosome, you can see from this figure, when these two genes are located on the same chromosome, they are considered to be linked and their alleles tend to be transmitted through meiosis together. Imagine fine. In case of, say, in dihybrid cross, if you can check it, for say in normal genetics we consider flower color and plant height. If they are linked together, they will be transferred during this recombination process together. So this is the concept of linked gene, and we also talked about a particular term which is known as recombination. So here actually, in case of this MHC molecule, which is highly polymorphic in nature, here comes the terms of linkage and this recombination process. This is very much gross idea what actually happens in case of linkage and recombination. Linkage is basically the tendency of the genes present in the chromosome to stay intact and transfer to the next generation, whereas crossing over is the exchange of chromosomal sections to disrupt or build links and form new linkages. This is a particular genetic experiment. If you can see this, there are two different genes. In case of this female, you can see PR plus and VG plus in one chromosome, in one strand, and the other contains PR and VG. These are two homologous chromosomes. So you can see they are double heterozygotes, right? They are showing the difference. But in case of this male portion, you can see they are basically, first one, they are homozygous and recessive for both of these genes. Now if you can see, during this segregation process from this male fly, the only only gamete that can be generated, which is PRVG, right? But in case of female, you will get PR plus, VG plus, PRVG. Now next is, if there is the recombination between these two, you will get PR plus VG and PRVG plus. So this is the portion that is very much important in case of our findings, which is the recombination process that this is occurring between the cells. Now if you see, after the crossing over, you will get a very new product, which is a recombined product. So this is the concept of recombination. So recombination basically is a process to produce new combinations of alleles by the recombination of DNA molecules, and this is the recombination process which is happening inside of our cell, inside of this MHC molecule, inside of these TCL receptor molecules, which is giving the different patterns in case of the immunological system. So just try to remember at least this point, that recombination is a process of producing new combinations of alleles by the recombination of DNA molecules, and it is also referred to as genetic recombination because there is an exchange of genetic material, that is the DNA molecule, between two different chromosomes or between different regions of the same chromosome. So anyone can remember, like MHC molecules are resides in which chromosome in case of human? Fine. So
chromosome.
Tell Anusha.
Ma'am, chromosome number 6.
Good. So this is the chromosome number 6. So these molecules are in the same chromosome, yet they can have the recombination process which is basically occurring. So we won't talk about these linkage recombinations and all. Okay, we are not going into the much details, rather we will start from here, where we actually stopped our topic, right? So we talked about these MHC molecules, and we talked about this, at least this figure is known to you, right? You know that this is the CD4 T cells, which contains T cell receptor molecules on its surface, which actually recognize the antigen bound MHC molecules, molecule class 2. So antigen bound MHC class 2 molecules are represented on the surface of the antigen presenting cells or apices. So this figure at least known to you. Now this immune system has a near limitless capacity for detecting abnormalities. This remarkable ability of self interrogation is achieved by the related structure of two different molecules, the immunoglobulins and the T cell receptors. And today we will talk about these T cell receptor molecules. This is a transmembrane heterodimer consisting of either an alpha and beta or delta and gamma chain linked by a disulfide bond. Now within these chains are complementarity determining regions. There are CDRs or complementarity determining region, which determine the antigen to which the TCR will bind. So it will actually detect the particular antigen and goes and binds to a specific molecules. Now this TCR in turn, what it does, TCR actually activates the T cells in which they reside. In case of MHC class 2 presented antigens, the TCRs or T cell receptors They actually activate the CD4 cells. In case of antigens presented by MHC class 1, they will activate the CD8 T cells, and leading to the plethora of immune responses. So they harness actually the power of the response, and TCR specificity is leading to a new generation of extremely promising immunotherapeutics. So you can go for this T cell receptor molecules. Now if you check about this overview of this T cell receptors, if the structure and all and the history. So this initial description of this T cell receptor that actually made 30 years ago primarily through similarity with immunoglobulin DNA sequences, and from this beginning a clearer picture of this T cell receptors as a pair of clone specific heterodimeric polypeptide chains consisting of both constant and variable regions has developed. So you know about the structures of the immunoglobulins. They also contain, this is a Y-shaped structure in case of immunoglobulins, right? They both contains a variable region and a constant region. First they have heavy chain and light chain. The heavy chain, each heavy chain and light chain are joined together by two disulfide bonds, and each of these heavy chain light chain pair, they are again joined together by disulfide linkages, and both of these heavy chain and light chain contains a variable region and also a constant region. So this is the basic structure of the immunoglobulin. And if you see that I have already told that these T cell receptors also pair of clone specific heterodimeric polypeptide chains consisting of both constant and variable regions. Okay, so in humans the majority of the T cells express a T cell receptor which is composed of a alpha chain and a beta chain, which is shown in this figure. Mostly 95% of the human T cell receptors, they are composed of this alpha chain and beta chain, and a smaller subset of T cell express a T cell receptors with gamma chain and delta chain, which is exceptional or very rare. Now these T cell receptors through its CDR. So what this CDR means? CDR means the complementary determining region. Now these TCRs through these CDRs endows the T cell with the ability to recognize and respond to foreign or non-self material. So this is the self non-self recognition, here it comes. So it actually responds to foreign or non-self material. Now the antigen presenting cells or APCs, digest pathogens and display their fragments on major histocompatibility complex 2. Now this MHC antigen complex, just a minute. These MHC antigen complex bind to these T cell receptors, while other co-stimulatory regulators like CD28, CD here written CD33, delta. So all of these molecules, they are activated, leading to the T cell activation, proliferation, differentiation, followed by apoptosis or cytokine release. Now these MHC antigen complexes are, however, not the only molecule that is capable of interacting with these TCR molecules. Non-peptide antigens such as lipids, that can also interact with these T cell receptors. Now they can interact with these TCR molecules via some of the 5 isoforms of CD1, which is from A to E, CD1A to CD1E. Now, and there are several studies which actually describe that these TCRs bind to metabolic intermediates, which is bound to these MHC like molecules like AMR1 also. So the binding or the recognition of the antigens or the MHC presented antigens of protein or peptide molecules, that is not limited one. It can go and bind with these lipid molecules, it can go and bind to the metabolically intermediate molecules also. TCRs have been described as the most intricate receptor structure of the mammalian immune system. Okay, so if it is a very intricate one, this is a very important one obviously. So first we need to know that how these unique structures developed and the mechanisms which is used to drive the immune responses via this TCR signaling. Okay, so we will talk about this TCR development and diversity. So here comes the picture, the recombination picture. I have talked about what is recombination, and here the recombination occurs which is known as VDJ recombination. At least in case of immunoglobulins also you will study this VDJ recombination, right? So this T cell receptors or TCR is a disulfide linked membrane bound heterodimeric protein normally consisting of the highly variable alpha beta chains expressed as part of a complex with the invariant CD3 molecule. CD3 chain molecules. Okay, now the T cells expressing these two chains are referred to as alpha and beta. T cells through a minority of T cell express an alternate receptor. I have told about this gamma and delta, which is referred as gamma delta T cell. Now this TCA development occurs through a lymphocyte specific process of gene recombination and this obviously assembles a final sequence from a large number of potential segments, and this genetic recombination of these TCR gene segments in somatic T cells occur during the early stage of development in case of thymus during the maturation process. Now this TCR alpha gene locus contains variable which is termed as your V. This is the variable region, the V, and joining segment which is here depicted as J. Okay, this is the joining section. So J segment. So if you can see, there are V beta, J beta, V alpha, J alpha. So whereas this TCR beta locus contains a D gene segment in addition to V alpha, J alpha segment. So this is the D segment, right? So accordingly the alpha chain is generated from VJ recombination and the beta chain is involved in the VDJ recombination. You can see here, you can see the VJ recombination, this is the VDJ recombination. So this is similar for the development of gamma delta TCR also, in which the TCR gamma chain is involved in VJ recombination and the TCR delta chain is generated from VDJ recombination. So the recombination is temporarily regulated by the access of recombinant activating gene which is RAG1 and RAG2, two recognizable sequences. Now this TCR recombination occurs at two stages during the process of T cell development. So first stage, the beta chain genes undergoes D beta J beta rearrangement. So this is the J beta rearrangement before V beta and DJ beta recombination in the double negative cells of the thymus. Rearrangement of the alpha chain gene takes place in double positive thymocytes. So RAG1 and 2 protein binds and introduce double strand breaks at recombination signal sequences.
Ma'am, can you repeat the first stage?
Yes. So in the first stage what happens? The beta chain undergoes D beta J beta rearrangement, because I have told that there are V D J recombination, right? So first D and J recombine and next that recombined DJ.
So the D chain and J chain come close together in the first stage.
Exactly. the D and J comes together. So it is written over here, see, DJ recombination occurs, okay, and once this DJ recombination occurs, then the V chain comes and V joins or recombines with this DJ recombined product and forms the product after VDJ recombination. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what is the, if you see the molecular mechanism, these RAG1 and 2 protein that goes and bind and after binding they introduce double strand breaks at these recombination signal sequences with flank of all TCR gene segments. Now the DNA repair machinery completes the recombination reaction. This RAG1 and 2 expressed by all lymphoid progenitor cells and immature T cells and B cells, where basically the recombination process takes place. The activity of this RAG1 and 2 proteins are observed. Now this TCR alpha chain gene locus consists of 46 variable segments, 8 joining segments and a constant region. So the TCR beta chain gene, and here the TCR beta chain gene, that locus contains 48 variable segments and 2 constant regions. The D and the J segments are located within a relatively short, say 50 kilobase per region, while the variable genes are spread over a large region of 1.5 megabases in case of TCR alpha, and in case of TCR beta this is 0.67 megabases. So obviously from this number of the segments present in the variable region in both of the cases, alpha chain and beta chain, a number of the in case of alpha chain there is only one constant chain, but in case of beta there are 2 different constant chains. In case of alpha there are, say what I told, 8 joining segments. So there are a high chance of recombination process, right? After these VJ recombinations and VDJ recombinations, different molecules can be produced after these different recombination process. Therefore this process of VDJ recombination require contraction of the entire locus by looping. In precursor cell what happens, the gene locus are localized at the periphery of the nucleus where gene transcription is less active. However, the proximity allows the DJ recombination at this stage initially. As the differentiation progresses, the gene locus moves to a more central nuclear position, which likely promotes chromatin opening. As the cells commit to a particular lineage, the variable gene, that is the V gene loci, undergo a contraction that places usually distant V genes next to the already arranged DJ segments in case of beta chains. The contraction produces a looping that allows the different V genes access to the already combined DJ segment and with similar frequency, and they bind to each other. Now obviously the ultimate goal of this recombination process is the diversity of these CDR molecules. That is why I was emphasizing on this recombination process, because recombination means the exchange of the genetic material, the recombining of this different genetic material or different segment of the gene, that actually gives an enormous diversity. In case of CDRs also, CDRs are the antigen binding sections of this TCR. You know what is CDR? I have already mentioned this complementary determining region. These are the
Cluster of differentiation.
No. CDR is the hello.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So CDR is basically complementary determining region, because it will find its complementary antigens, right? So it should be the diversity. So CDRs are the antigen binding sections of this TCR, and diverse recognition capability will help it to efficiently protect us against pathogens and the generation of optimal immune responses. So this is the region, because there are various kinds of antigens which is coming from the pathogen molecule. So you have to recognize all of these antigens, right? So in order to know these different antigenic patterns or identify different patterns of the antigens, your antigen binding site should be a diverse one, otherwise you cannot find or cannot bind to a particular antigen and initiate or activate down regulatory immune responses. So this is the region that this is the reason it helps them. This VDG recombination, along with the addition or say deletion of nucleotides at the junctions between gene segments, help to generate an outstanding amount of TCR diversity. And this diversity generated by this VDG recombination, this is estimated to exceed 10 to the power 15 TCRs. See, the recombination can produce around 10 to the power 15 TCRs, which is a large number. CDRs can be re-edited in their periphery in a process called TCR revisions. This results in a change in the antigen specificity of the TCR also, and is initiated by reactivating of recombinases that initiate gene recombination process. Now, TCR revision is a carefully regulated process that induces tolerance to self antigens, which still inducing protection against invading pathogens. Now, in addition to this diversity of these TCRs, their cross reactivity also contributes to host defense. Cross reactivity of TCR means giving a single T cell host the ability to react to multiple peptide ligands. Obviously, these TCR molecules, the receptor molecules, it's not possible for a particular receptor to bind with different antigen molecules, right? So this is the where the first comes the recombination process, because there are numerous ways of recombination, or there are numerous products that can be formed after this recombination process between these VJD molecules. In case of both of the alpha and beta chains, I have told there are 10 to the power 15 TCRs that can be produced after this recombination process. Now, if there is something beyond that, so the particular feature which is given here, which is the cross reactivity, so the T cell receptor which can bind to a particular antigen of the host cell, it can also go and bind another antigen also. So it has the property of cross reactivity. So you can say this is a flexibility. So this is achieved by a degree of flexibility in T cell receptor MHC peptide binding. This means that fewer T cells are required to detect foreign material. Obviously, if first you have recombination process by which you can make more and more T cell receptors. Second, the T cell receptors has the ability to cross react with each other. So obviously, it means that fewer T cells are required to detect foreign materials. Additionally, antigens may be detected by several T cells, leading to a polyclonal response, which will make pathogens escape more difficult. Means, say a particular T cell receptor molecules which can recognize both A and both B. So it gives the cross reactivity, right? Now, there are also a chance or a possibility inside our cell that a particular antigen can be recognized by different T cell receptors also. Say if a molecule, say if there is an antigen A that can be recognized by 1, 2, 3 different kind of T cell receptors. Now the antigen can change its say structure, or the amino acid structure or amino acid sequence and all. It can escape the recognition by the T cell receptor 1. But as I have mentioned that a particular antigen can be recognized by various T cell receptor molecules. So this is not possible for this particular antigen to escape all of these 3 T cell receptors. So there is a decrease in the chance of escaping of this antigen, right? So it is difficult for that particular pathogen to escape, and it actually helps to create polyclonal response. This wide ranging cross reactivity is not without its problem, as the concept of T cell being activated by antigen and then cross reacting to self ligand is possible. So this is known as molecular mimicry, and it represents one theory of root cause of autoimmunity. This is the while we are talking about the good things of these T cell receptors, the diversity of these T cell receptors.
Ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, can I say something?
Yes. Sure.
Ma'am, nowadays Bharat Biotech claims that their vaccine, Covaxin, is a multivalent vaccine. So, is this the process that they recognize multiple variant of the
Exactly.
antigen?
Exactly, because
So-
if you can check that in case of in case of Covishield, right? Covaxin is by the Bharat Biotech, and Covishield is the other one. So Covishield, how it is made? It is made.
Covishield, the other one.
Yes, Covishield is made with from the spike protein of coronavirus. So it is taking a particular that special spike protein only, and so the particular vaccine that is boosting the immunity. So it will recognize the spike proteins of coronavirus inside our cell, right? And make the immunity against it. Now, if you consider the vaccine which is made by Bharat Biotech, Covaxin, so if you consider it, it actually makes the vaccine taking the total viral cell in its inactive form. So when you are taking the total one, so the antigens, it is independent of the particular protein, because it can recognize all of the antigens which is coming from that particular pathogen. So that should be much more effective against any kind of mutation strains also. If the particular strain is mutated, if say the spike protein is mutated itself, so if you use Covishield, it is not whether, as it is using a particular spike protein to make the vaccine, so it is not possible to recognize a mutated spike protein. Maybe the antigen escaped the recognition, okay, but when you are talking about the total protein, this mutated spike protein may escape, but the other portions or the other antigens which is processed from the particular pathogen, that can be recognized by our cell by the immune system of our cell. So that is a much better one, right?
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So this is the process. This is known as the molecular mimicry, and it represents, I have told, the one root cause of autoimmunity, because it has the cross reactivity, wide range of T cell receptors that can just go and bind to a particular antigen, that can recognize multiple receptors, can recognize a particular antigen, and also these T cell receptors, they have the capability of cross reactivity. They can bind multiple antigens obviously, and sometimes they have the nature to bind to its own molecules, which actually we have already discussed that this is the reason of autoimmune disease. This cell cannot distinguish between self and non-self due to this cross reactivity reason. Next, we will talk about this T cell activation and signaling process, but that's a bit time taking, so I am ending the session here. Okay.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so tomorrow will be our next class.
Ma'am, tomorrow?
Yes, tomorrow.
Ma'am, the same link?
Yeah, the same link.
Okay.
So it's from 8:30. Okay, so I will send you. Okay, should I mail you again?
No, ma'am, the link is already there.
Okay.